If you've ever run a session where you've got people in the room who are sitting there not participating for whatever reason, you'll know that can be really painful. I've got a little technique here which you can use again and again, which will help you get past that. People don't participate in sessions for all sorts of reasons. Shy, they don't want to be there, they don't understand what you're doing, potentially they want to get in your way. There's lots of reasons why people don't participate. And really, what you're trying to avoid is a few things. People might walk out confused. They might walk out, be negative Nancy's and talk about the meeting they just wasted time in. But really, the worst thing that can happen is you've organized a session, you've tried hard to get to the outcome, and you didn't capture the potential of all the people in the room. That's the thing that you need to really avoid. So here's a technique you can use again and again in different forms, in different formats. You can make it big, you can make it small, you can do it quickly, you can do it slowly. But the same technique helps you capture the human potential, all the ideas in the room, and get people really engaged really quickly. So you would have seen people do this in sessions. But did you realize that it's a technique that you can use yourself? What I'm talking about is very simple. It's writing down your ideas. You would have seen this incorporated into the classic exercise when people are brainstorming of writing down an idea on a post-it note. It is incredibly powerful for someone to stop and to commit their idea to paper. The act of writing makes us clarify our thoughts and it makes us commit to them. In order to write, we must stop and we must consider the prompt that we've been given. So you might have seen this technique used in brainstorming. You also might have seen this used in warm-up exercises at the start of a big session. One thing that people often do is they will get people in the room to write down something simple, something meaningless. It might be something like, hey, we're going to go around the room and we're going to, I'm going to give you 3 prompts. We're going to ask you what sort of animal you are. We're going to ask you what's your favorite place to go on holiday and what's your favorite color. You would have seen exercises that are like this, maybe with a bit more meaning to them. But really, the idea is to force people to take that first step and engage. It's a micro action. It gets people engaged. It's very low effort. And suddenly they've taken part in the workshop. So you've broken the ice. You would have heard the term icebreaker. Forcing someone to write something down means you've given them a prompt that they need to think about, bring their own ideas to the room, not just follow the highest paid person in the room's opinion or follow the person who normally speaks first. They've all had a chance to use their own brains and think about the prompt on their own. The prompt that you give someone, the amount of time that you give them to respond to it, and the amount of space you give them to answer it, so the length of the answer, will depend on many factors. Sometimes you can do something where you give them 30 seconds to write it down, 20 seconds, a minute, that you might give them a post-it note. You might ask them to fill out a questionnaire. There might be 3 lines of text. It really depends, right? It's up to you, and it depends on the exercise. I'm going to give you 2 bookends. One might be write down your favorite color. All right, that's a 2-second thought, and it's a 5-second time to write it down on one line. On the other end, you've got something like, I want you to think about your growth goals for this year and come back with the top 5 areas for your personal improvement. That's going to take a lot longer. They're going to have to think about that for a few hours or a week, potentially. You need to give people time in and amongst their other work. And they will come to the session ready with that. So like a performance review, each year, you'll give someone a lot of time to really consider what they want to say. But they do have to write something down and be committed before they come to the room if they're going to be prepared for a good conversation. So somewhere in the middle, thinking about whatever prompt it is that you'd like them to talk about in the room, giving them time, maybe up to a minute, to think about an answer. You might ask them to write down several answers on different pieces of paper or different lines on a sheet. That's okay. One exercise you can do once they've written down their answer is 1, 2, 4, all. So that's 1, 2, 4, all. And what that means is you get people to think about something individually. Then you get them to discuss that in pairs with the person next to them. Then those 2 pairs combine and discuss, and they start to summarize and they start to form a synthesized opinion. And then all you go to the group and everyone discusses as a group. What that does is it gives you the brings the ideas out in very fine detail, and then you start to form a group opinion. Again, based on that point that you've actually written something down. It's not the loudest person in the room. Everyone's had a chance to contribute. There is another aspect to this. Whilst we don't want people doggedly holding onto their ideas, once someone writes something down or says it, they tend to commit to it. It suddenly has value to them, right? And so it makes them engaged in the conversation. So we want to make it flexible for people to be able to walk away from their ideas, and that's okay. But we want them to have engaged in the conversation, because then they feel like they are part of it, and everyone is a father or a mother of the success of that outcome. I hope you find that useful. It's a really easy technique. You can use it in so many places. You can even use it yourself. Maybe write down some notes that you took from this video. Use it, try it. It'll help you get people engaged. It'll mean that they walk out of the room feeling like they were part of the conversation. If you like this content, consider sharing it with a friend, pressing like, subscribe, all the usual things. But you also might like other content I've made in the past, like my book. The link's in the description below. Thanks a lot.